If you've ever wondered what the heck you actually said at the end of that party,
or wanted a do-over button for those cringe-worthy encounters,
then you've experienced what we call the joy of awkwardness.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Bree.
And we're here to celebrate the awkward.
Embrace the awkward.
And remind you of one important thing.
You may be awkward,
but you're definitely not alone.
Well, that was awkward. Hey, Mendy, I like your hat today.
Thank you. I'm wearing my sporty hat because I'm going to tell a sports story today.
Oh, fun. But before we start telling sports stories, which is a little scary to me.
Exercise.
I'm not very sporty. Have you had any awkward moments this week?
Yes. I feel like most of my awkward moments happen at the grocery store.
That's good. That means we'll get them every week.
You will get them every day. I cannot stay away from the grocery store. But yeah, so I was getting out of my car the other day, and you know those carts? They're like a go-kart with a grocery. It's like a chair, but it has a grocery cart attached. It's a motorized grocery cart, and it's for if you have like mobility issues or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was getting out of my car, and I see this super healthy young woman plop down in one of those and drive towards the entrance or whatever.
Yeah.
And because we were like walking up a lane of traffic, there were oncoming cars, so I couldn't get around her and it was super slow. So I was walking behind her.
Right.
Just like, oh, I can't get around her. Why is she even using this cart? She doesn't need this cart. But at the same time, I was kind of jealous because I've always wanted to ride around on one of those carts. I think the first time I got an IUD, I did ride around on one at Costco. But I'm behind her and I'm like, oh my God.
Maybe she just got an IUD too. Maybe that's...
Well, I actually found out we ended up having a sweet moment because I'm like stuck behind her doing that weird thing where you're walking slow and complaining to yourself under your breath. And we get up to the front and she parks it. And she was like, I'm so sorry. She was like, this is for my grandmother. I'm taking her grocery shopping and she couldn't bring it back to the front. And I was like, that's okay. She was just being a good helper.
So like the whole time you were resenting her for being
for one reason or another, she was just doing what you would need to do and returning her cart, which is important. What about you? Do you have any from this week?
I have a recurring awkward moment with our exterminator. So we have this exterminator named Melvin. He comes once a month. We don't know when he's going to come. He just appears. Often after he comes, we have more bugs than we had before he came. But we love Melvin. He's really a sweetheart. But he always comes at about 8:15 in the morning when I'm in my underwear. We've talked about it. I've said, Melvin, give us a call. He says, well, I called Jeff.
I think Melvin is appreciating it.
Yeah, but this time it was Camden, and we are both in our underwear. We're hanging out in the kitchen, drinking our coffee in our underwear.
You're his favorite stop. Wait, see, I didn't know people got exterminators to just come do a general, like, sweep, like a regular thing. Not if you have a lot of bugs, you just get them to come, like, just in case.
Well, we really have them come to keep termites from eating our house. But, you know, Mendy, I live in the country, so we have a lot of bugs.
You're in their territory.
And we have a lot of varmints, a lot of rodents, a lot of mice.
And you can't get a cat.
And we can't get a cat. We do use Have a Heart mousetraps.
Yeah.
That don't kill them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mice are awkward.
Oh, so we can have a cat because we're not allergic to cats. And Lolo, you've seen, have I brought Lolo out and presented her to you before?
Yes.
You've seen Lola. I love Lola, our little tuxedo kitty. And she is such a great little hunter. She went through a phase. She likes to bring, well, I open the front door to the house. And automatically, I see on the doorstep what I can only describe as mouse pants. I see little mouse legs and a mouse tail, and that's it. And then I put on my glasses, my reading glasses, and look at it, and it's just the bottom half of a mouse. And she's done that like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, oh, we got mouse pants outside. And she also likes to catch skinks and just bring the tails, because you know the tails stay alive. That's pretty horrible.
Anyway, so yet again, we had another awkward moment with Melvin, our exterminator, popping in on a random weekday morning, catching the luck ladies.
In their drawers. That's his favorite day of the month. There is one awkward story that you told me about from a social event. Do you want to tell that now? That's my favorite awkward story.
I actually just told that today on another podcast.
Yeah, I think that story should be told everywhere. It's my favorite story. It's my favorite story I've ever heard.
Okay, so Mendy loves this awkward story.
So good.
This weekend, I went to a soiree, and at this soiree were a bunch of people from Charlottesville, where Mendy and I live, and a bunch of theater people, so people who have worked with us in some capacity or have seen us work before. And one person from this community came up and people were telling him, oh, you should hear about this podcast that Bree and Mendy are doing. And he said, oh, what's the podcast? And so I told him the premise, which is that we get awkward stories and deconstruct them. And I said that I was working with you. And he said, oh.
Pause. Isn't he an esteemed New York director? I think that's important to the background. He's an esteemed theater professional, right? Or LA. Or he's a movie producer in LA, right? He knows talent when he sees it.
Definitely. He knows talent when he sees it. Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's important. And his response was,
oh my gosh, how did you get Mendy? She is a genius. She is so brilliant. She is phenomenal. She is so funny. Really, I've never met anybody quite like her. She is so amazing. And the whole...
Get your thesaurus out. Go as long as you need to go to accurately portray it.
Well, he went for 2 minutes and 35 seconds.
That's good. That's good.
At which point, his darling wife,
who I've also worked with, who is also an esteemed theater professional,
puts her hand gently on his back. He's very worked up at this point. He is so excited to tell me how brilliant Mendy is. And she puts her hand on his back and she says, I think Bree's a genius too.
Well, that was awkward. You are a genius too.
No. And I said, my genius is in getting brilliant people like Mendy to work with me.
Aww.
And that's the truth.
That's such a great story.
It really is a great story. You know, I didn't think of telling it because it didn't feel awkward to me.
Not at all. No, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing that again.
So, Mendy, thank you for gracing us with your presence today.
I'll do anything for a Topo Chico. No, it means so much to me. Just because, you know, my daily life, the bottom rung of profession. So I'm going to keep that in my pocket forever. So thank you.
It was actually a real joy. All right.
Okay.
So we have a sporty story.
Well, it's sporty. It's athletic. It has to do with fitness. But I want to start off with a question for you, Bree. And that's, have you ever had a hookup phase?
Yes, I did. So I have to tell you about this. I had a kind of bad breakup in college. I was really in love with this guy who did not feel that way about me. But I knew that the only way I could really get over him was to get right back into dating. But I also knew that I wasn't going to be distracted enough by one person. So I decided to date 30 guys in 30 days. And I didn't hook up with 30 guys, but I would say that that was a hookup phase in my life.
Wow. Wait a minute. And then after that,
I met Jeff.
You met Jeff. 31.
31. It's true. But first I went back to the other guy for a hot minute.
Just one more little dip in the shallow end.
One more little dip.
Just a little dip.
It was more fun that time.
Well, I've never had a hookup phase. I don't work like that. I prefer to...
Really?
No. Attraction doesn't work like that for me. I would create fantasies about who I thought somebody was and then get with them, and then they wouldn't live up to them, and then I'd ghost them.
Okay, but here's a question for you. What does a hookup mean?
So I see a hookup as like, it's just casual. You just get together. It's all physical, no strings attached. Nobody wants a relationship.
Okay.
Right? And there's an understanding, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So Today's story is about someone we'll call Ben when he was in his like perky, pulchritudinous, just learned that word, perfect prime. His 20s. I remember those. Oh, so much power. He's single. He's sexy. The world is his oyster and the possibilities are absolutely endless. He's empowered in his sexuality. He's exploring. He's clubbing. He is in his hookup phase. And he's not looking for a relationship. He's not trying to set up camp with anyone. He's not shopping for like a sweet little cuddle pet to snuggle with at home. He's enjoying the exciting sexual safari of chance encounters with the beautiful beasts of the wild. Maybe he'll see Tony the tiger again. Maybe not. Hey, Chester Cheetah, best not catch any feels, because it's all about living in the moment. Can you feel the love tonight? Yeah, but only for tonight, baby. Bree, on that note, hookup phase, unrelated to your 30 guys in 30 days, which is not the same thing, I don't think. Have you ever had a one-night stand?
No.
Really?
No. Mother, I have not had a one-night stand.
I did, but it was on accident.
Oh, what?
Not like I tripped and fell on a dick, but like, oh, whoops. No, I thought it would be something more, but I thought they were Italian, and then they told me afterwards that they dyed their hair. And so all illusions were destroyed and I ghosted them.
Okay, but that wasn't...
Like, I thought it was going to be
confusing.
Something else. I thought it was an accidental. I've had 2 of those. Oh, well. So Benny Bear is also keeping his shit tight. He's going to the gym every single day. He's getting on that little elliptical and he's sweating it out to like all the early 2000s music, like Kylie, Madonna, Christina, Avenue Q. He's singing along on his little iPod Nano. Remember those? Sometimes he'd take in like a Zen flow class, but he never really hung out in that area of the gym. You know, it's like where all the people look like He-Mans and like She-Ras, and they're all ripped and grunting. I call it the hemorrhoid farm. Bree, have you ever been in the hemorrhoid farm?
I have.
Oh.
I have been in the hemorrhoid farm.
What do you do there?
I haven't in a while, but I would lift weights there. I was trying to get pumped up for a time.
Oh,
my Lara Croft years.
I go over there now because, you know, I'm trying to keep these runner's knees still working for a little while. So I've got to build up my quads. And Cecil, my trainer, gave me a cool little workout that I need to do part of in the hemorrhoid farm. But I'm always so daunted when I go over there. I feel like everybody else knows what they're doing so much more than I do. But anyway, Benny, he doesn't go to the hemorrhoid farm. But this is a fairly small city that he lives in. So there's only a couple of gyms. So he's inevitably going to encounter one of his hookups at some point, right?
Yes.
But Ben, like most of us, like me, like you, he just wants to go in, work his bod, and not exchange any pleasantries or make any small talk. So he has a genius move. He just doesn't wear his contacts when he goes to the gym, so everyone is blurry.
Okay, that really is a genius move.
That is such a great idea. You wear contacts, right?
Oh, yes.
Do you do it at the gym when you're working out?
Yes, I do.
You gotta take them out.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm legally blind without my contacts, so I might get hurt if I took them out. But I could probably take one out, and then I'd just be confused.
Just a little bit.
Looking.
Or you could just lie, and if you see somebody you don't want to talk to, just say, I didn't have my contacts in. If they come up to you.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ben has also, on top of that, a really strict policy about not being friends with anyone that he's hooked up with. In his words, he, quote, preferred to compartmentalize casual sex from friendship, which makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
You don't want to like do that and then like, let's hang out, let's play D&D, let's get it in, let's play Trivial Pursuit, let's get it in, let's watch a football game, get it in. Like somewhere like that, actually, that's the definition of a relationship if you do hobbies and have sex alternatingly. So he's not looking for a relationship, though.
He didn't want a relationship.
Yep.
He just wanted to get it in. But a little red flag is coming up for me here because I understand that setting those boundaries and limits can make for less awkward sexual encounters in many ways.
Yes.
Right?
You can, yes.
But I'm thinking, like, what happens when you run into each other at the farmer's market and you can't avoid it? It seems like you could have more awkward encounters.
Oh, right. If you set that up. And also, you could be preventing yourself from actually developing a friendship. Like, Bree, what if you and I had met during our clubbing years in New York City and had bumped donuts, and then we would never be friends if we had that policy?
That would have been terrible.
That would have been horrible. Good point.
I'm glad that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. But there was this one guy.
Okay.
Benny had just had a pretty flippin' epic hookup with this super fit older man. And to Ben, at this time, that's a man in his 40s, which is a younger man to us now.
Oh, I remember those days.
He's got a chiseled body and he's got that salt and pepper hair, soft lines on his skin from all of his like outdoor sportses and his hiking and camping and safaris. We're going to call him Leo. So
no, I don't want to call him Leo. That's my sign.
But it's Leo, but it's short for Leonardo. Because he's Leo the lion. I'm trying to do a safari theme.
Okay. I just have to reframe it. So I'm going to think of him as being like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Who really likes the younger set. So that works.
That totally works. That was my genius at work. I didn't even know that about him. Good to know.
So wait a minute. Whoa. One more question. Mm-hmm. How do they meet?
In the club. That's where everyone meets.
Okay.
They met at the Jungle. It's called the Jungle nightclub. So they meet at the nightclub, and then they go home. They have their hookup, and they're in Leo's apartment with like his leather couches and a bunch of like Wall Street journals, and there's with the circles, wine holders of like really
espresso makers.
What else? Oh, he doesn't have an Alexa yet because it's 2000, but he's probably on the wait list already for it. And so they've had their hookup, hanging out a little bit afterwards as Benny's gathering his stuff, and Leo leans forward on his black marbled kitchen island and says, I've seen you before.
Oh, no.
No, that's good. They discover that they go to the same gym. And this is a total hair flip moment for Benny because that means Leo has noticed him before.
Yeah.
But,
gotcha.
Pause for a minute. Do you see any potential or foreseeable awkwardness here?
Yeah, because if Benny doesn't like to have casual encounters with hookups and Leo frequents his fitness center, I see problems here.
Right,
and with the no contact thing, then no contact.
No contact.
With no contacts, then he's just going to look like an asshole. That's what I see.
Which could move him up the dating ladder in this wild world of
boys.
Hookups. Yeah, boys. So Ben decides that he will keep an eye out for Leo when he's there. Not to make any small talk, but Leo looks good. He's nice to look at, right? So one day he's looking around and he's squinting really hard because he doesn't have his contacts in. And amidst the blur, this magnificent specimen comes into focus. It's Leo. And Leo also knows the code of the wild. So they don't make small talk. They just share a cute little nod and sexy smirk.
Oh, that's pretty fun.
An eyebrow.
That sounds pretty good, right? Because it's a game.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's like, I see you. Just some mutual appreciation and gratitude, respect. Kind of hot. And it's just as it should be. And Ben notices that Leo is sauntering into a Muscle Maniacs class. And that's one of those classes in, the studio area that every gym has. And sometimes they'll turn the lights down low and there's thumping club music and the party lights are flashing. And one wall is glass that faces out to the main floor. The other wall is a mirror. And this class uses weights.
Right. That's the kind of class that Denise goes to.
Denise goes to that class. That's right. She couldn't do the hot tub workout with me the other day because she had to go to her Muscle Maniacs class. Dang it. But Ben, he's more of a Zen zone class sort, more like Nia, freeform, no heavy lifting. But he does make a little note to check out that class sometime to sweat it out a little with luscious Leo. And actually, the very next day, he signs up for the Muscle Maniacs class and heads right to the middle of the room. So, Bree, it's your first day at an exercise class. Never mind that a hottie badotti's going to be in there. Where is your strategic placement? First day. You don't know what you're doing.
Back left corner.
Back left corner.
Back left corner.
I think that's obvious for everyone. Back left corner. You're not by the door. Back left corner. No. He's center stage. So he's looking around, he's checking out all the equipment that everyone's getting, and he just follows their lead, not trying to look like a newbie. He starts like doing some stretches, right? And Leo majestically strides in and sets up right behind Ben. In Ben's words, it was, quote, presumably to watch that ass in motion. At least that's what I told myself. The class starts, and Benny is determined to give Leo a good show. I should add that Ben is a professional musical theater actor. He never disappoints an audience, and he was resolved to give Leo the show of a lifetime. The lights go down, the music starts thumping, bass is pumping, lights are flashing. This is not unlike the very same setting which led to Ben and Leo's delightful little dalliance. And it is Britney playlist day. And he's like, oh, Leo, I'm gonna give you what you came for. The opening beats of I'm a Slave for You start. He's given it his best music video hottie performance, pushing himself way, way harder than he should. He's lifting, he's squatting, he's clenching, he's flexing, he's lifting some more to the beat, and he's giving face. He catches glimpses of himself in that mirror, wondering when Madonna's next all-call is. He can totally handle this. But this was just the warm-up. The class starts to ratchet up a notch. A little ditty called Gimme More starts up.
Also a Britney song.
Opens with a thumping synthesizer. Ben's feeling it. The bass is perfectly synced with his heart rate. The lust is in the air. And he decides to go for it. It's Benny, bitch. He loads way too much weight on his, weight stick. That thing they put the circles on.
A bar?
Yes.
Bar?
Yes, he puts way too much weight on the bar, and he just pushes through. Yes, it hurts. But he is determined to scoop Leo right on up with this exhibition of sexy, manliness. To the beat. In Leo's natural habitat. The class ratchets up another notch. The opening insane, chaotic strings of Toxic starts. That's a Britney Spears song. He's starting to feel a little dizzy.
Oh.
Yeah, Benny's body is screaming, in his words, quote, why are you doing this, you stupid bitch? And I told it to shut up because he, Leo, is watching. Then he's a lot dizzy and queasy. The weights fall from his hands and bump to the floor. Leo wants more, but Benny's body says no. And last night's Quesadilla says, here I come. And he barfs.
No!
Yes.
Right in the middle of the room?
Yes, but it's okay.
What?
Because he keeps it in his mouth.
Oh.
He's a professional. But he runs out of the studio. He runs out of the studio, quote, fully flailing like one of those windsock man things that they put outside car dealerships. He makes it to the locker room just in time to fire hose that whole dang quesadilla right into a toilet.
Okay, well, I'm glad that he made it to the bathroom. Does he ever see Leo again?
Yes, he does see Leo again. When he turns around and marches right back in that studio to finish what he started.
Oh, no.
He's a professional.
No,
He's
no,
a
no,
professional.
Benny, no,
He's
no.
a professional. The show must go on. Bree, would you have gone back in there? I think I know the answer to this. No, we don't go on. We don't go back in. We don't go back in, Benny. But he is smart. Parts of him are smart. In those tender 20
Yes.
years.
Oh, poor Benny. I mean, you gotta kind of give him credit for it too, right?
And our bodies are much more resilient when we're 20 years old. We're like,
Right.
barf the quesadilla. I could do anything now, right?
It's already out, so why not go back in? And actually then, I don't know.
And he's really smart. He chugs an entire gallon of water first to replenish himself, to rehydrate himself.
No, he's smart in the way that a 20-year-old is smart.
Exactly. The gallon of water sloshing around in his body is going to magically fix everything. So he goes back, and he's determinedly staggering through the door, back into the lion's den, if you will, and he hears the unrelenting synth smack of work, bitch. That's a Britney Spears song reverberating in the studio. And he's gonna work, bitch, because he's a professional. He's making his way back to his spot, center stage, when he lurches, spins around, runs right back out of that studio to Ralph an entire gallon of water into the nearest trash can on the main floor.
Oh no. And he doesn't make it to the bathroom.
He does not make it to the bathroom this time, but he did make it out of the studio. He did not sully the stage.
Oh my God.
So what do you do? What do you do at this point?
I think I just do everything in my power to disappear in that moment.
Oh, you're on the right track. Benny has the same idea. We've got to give him credit. He has learned his lesson at this point. He does not go back.
Yeah, but he probably can't leave because he's probably like, you've thrown up twice.
I would leave.
Like if I throw up twice, I'm like on the ground.
Right.
I can't.
Right, like physically. Well, even if he could leave, he can't because he left his equipment out, which is, as you know, a huge gym faux pas. Like to leave your stuff from somebody else to clean up. It's just as bad as like throwing up in a class.
No. He doesn't need to worry about the equipment.
True. But you know what else he left in there? His keys. And I would have left my keys. But there's no Uber or Lyft back then. You have to like call a cab or something. He cannot get away.
Right. So he has to go back in.
But he's smart and he waits. He cannot face Leo again. He has the same instinct as you, and that is to disappear. So he just decides to wait outside of the studio till everyone's done. He like slides down the wall outside the studio door. He scrunches himself up into a ball and puts his heads in his hands. He said it was like when a 5-year-old is playing hide and go seek with you and they like cover their eyes and they think that you can't see them because they can't see you.
Yes.
He said, quote, I tried to make myself magically disappear. So he's on the floor, get a ball, hands over his eyes, and he could still hear the music, right? And the music finally starts to slow down. Leo and the other wildlings are in the cool down phase. The lyrics to Oops, I Did It Again
Britney
by Britney Spears burn into Ben's ears. People file out and he like peeks through a little crack in his hands to see like this herd of ripped calves stride past him like in this ball on the floor. Once he was sure most of the people are out, he slowly stands up, goes into that studio, puts his equipment away, and grabs his keys. And he's Charlie Brown walking out, and he looks up, and he locks eyes with Leo, who gives him a smirk again. And in Ben's own words, quote, not the, hey, we had great sex smirk from earlier. More of an, I know you hurled from exercise smirk. Well, that was awkward. And that's it.
Oh my God, poor Ben. So he
quit that gym and he joined another gym. Like, farewell Work It World, hello Sweat City. He never sees Leo again. Ever.
That may be for the best.
I think so too. I'm still going through this, like, I'm thinking of like the instructor with her little headset and she sees somebody who's like possibly dying and she's still pushing through. And Leo didn't even go help him. But I guess that's the casual friendship part.
I'm just like, first of all, I feel a little nauseated after hearing this.
I'm never going to work out again. Phew.
Poor Ben. I'm so glad that he shared that story.
I am too. That is
a good
epic.
One. So would you have done anything differently than Ben at any point?
So as you know, I do not like consequences and I'm really good at weaseling myself out of stuff. But I don't, besides going back in the room, first of all, I wouldn't have gone back into, you know what? Me in my 20s, I totally would have gone back in. Maybe if it were Madonna Day and not Britney Day, I would have totally got back in there. But as far as my exit, I would have made sure I looked really good and then waited outside the class and kind of had my hand on my tummy. And when Leo came out, I think he would be like, are you okay? And I'd be like, yeah, it's just my friend Dana is studying to be a sushi chef. And she invited me over last night to try some entrees. And I think her fish was off and just blame it on Dana and her off fish.
That's a smart move. If it had been me in my 20s, I would have worried less about somebody thinking I was a wimp.
Right.
And more about people thinking I was pregnant if I was throwing up.
But Benny can't be pregnant. But yes, good point. That's a whole nother layer. That's a whole nother layer for women. My whole thing would be like, I'm still sexy. and I'm strong. And I've got to maintain that. And I think everybody would be taken down by off fish, you know?
Oh,
So
totally. You could even make it like blowfish or something
exotic.
Yeah.
Something that he would have read about in one of his
Gourmand
magazine. Exactly. A real treat. I think so. I would have left after the first one, still want to look fit and sexy, Dana and the fish, gotten somebody from the front desk to go in and get my keys and go home. And then if I see him again, then I bring up the fish thing. I think that's better. Like, clear the area first, get somebody else to get my keys, leave, think of my plan. And then if I run into him again, I would talk about Dana's fish. Benny has advice for us.
Oh, yeah. I want to hear it.
If Benny could go back and do anything differently, and I'm a little bit ashamed that neither one of us thought of this step, he would say, don't overdo it in the gym to impress someone. Which you and I never even considered.
We wouldn't, it would not, does not compute, would not register.
Not at that age. Not at that age. Or he says, don't really overdo it in the gym for any reason. Also, don't chug a bunch of water right after you throw up.
Now
that's a great one.
That's a good one. Has he recovered from this? Is he doing okay?
He is doing okay. Like a lot of these stories, people tell us that, oh my gosh, I've carried this as like a weight of shame. But now that I can tell it and bring people joy anonymously, it's healing and they're able to see it from a different point of view. So
it's just good to know. It's affirming to know that there are Bennies in the world.
Yes.
It's like Schadenfreude meets a guru.
Benny is happily married and has been for years.
That's a great ending to that story. I love it. And I wonder what happened to Leo.
Where is Leo? Well, Leo is straight up elderly now, so he's a hot elderly man in the little
living his life,
his best life.
Still thinking about the boy in the gym who threw up twice.
The one that got away. Benny, we're proud of you. I love that the show went on.
I do too. It really speaks to your character.
Can you imagine just being a person in that class and not tending to him?
No, that I really can't. I mean,
that's the muscle maniacs. That's not Nia. That's not yoga. That's muscle maniacs. That's what Denise is doing every day. And they're all alone. If she Ralphs, nobody's coming to her aid.
Denise, don't push it.
Denise, don't push it too hard.
And if they're playing Britney, run.
Run.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how awkward do you think that story was?
Oh, gosh. So I like to take it way up the scale. And then I back it up. It's like in my life, if I get really sad, I imagine a worst case scenario because then I'm prepared for it. And then I could just back it up. That wasn't a 10 of a day. That was just an 8. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to go all the way up to 10 because it involved barf. It involved being crumbled on the floor. 2 barfs. Public humiliation. With somebody that you'd had intimacy.
Sex.
Yes, had intimacy, had relations with. But then I'm going to back it up to like an 8 because he was a stranger, not somebody who had to see every single day, and he was able to avoid him in the future. I'm going 8.
I have to say, I'm going to give it a 9.5.
Wow.
And here's why. I know Leo really wasn't a stranger. He wasn't someone close enough to sort of process it with and get through it with. So then it just lingers in your mind. So I'm just imagining that is a moment that sticks with you for so long.
And you never know when you're going to run into him again.
And you don't know who else was there because you really can't remember everybody else who was in that class. And it's, a small town.
But he switches gyms.
I know, but even then, it's like, are people talking about it? There's that whole, because he even had to switch gyms, that makes it a 10 for me, right? Like, when you have to make a major life shift, and I consider switching gyms a major life shift, right? Like, you are changing your whole routine because of a singular moment. And it's hard to go to gym.
I think that the life effect factor, that's a good one to take into account.
I want more stories like that.
Yeah, send us more stories. We have our Google form, which is anonymous, and we have our call-in line if you'd rather talk it out.
They're both anonymous. If you give us your voice, we may use your voice. Just letting you know.
Yes.
But if you write it into us, then we'll do it like Mendy just told this story today.
Yep. And if you want to talk it out, but don't want us to use your voice and have like a longer form kind of story, just keep calling back as many times as you need. You get 5 minutes per phone call. And well, you could take what you said and turn it into a longer form story as well. You can just say, please don't use my voice. But if you want to write up something, go for it.
Absolutely.
We're flexible.
We love it.
We're really flexible.
That's right. We're flexible and strong. Do we have an outro for this one?
Oh, yes, we do.
All right, let's go.
Benny took a class with his hot date.
But he piled on way too much weight.
Made his quesadilla regurgitate.
Well, that was awkward. So when you try to impress guys,
Benny would like to emphasize,
honey, just stick to Prancer size.
I got my ankle weights right here.
Well, that was awkward. I love Benny, though.
Me too.
This has been an Awkward Sage production.